Super God Gene. Chapter 71. Swarms of black stingers flew in and out the nest, and there were at least tens of thousands of them, filling Han Sen and Lu Weinan with dread. Big brother, you do not mean to kill all these hornets, do you? Looks like they are all primitive creatures. There are so many of them and they can fly. It'd be hard for us to get out safely, Lu Weinan swallowed and said. Han Sen was happy to see the towering old trees and the flowers on the ground. He thought, the poster did not lie. There is indeed such a place. After watching for a while, Han Sen said to Lu Weinan, let's go farther. Lu Weinan had to follow Han Sen. They didn't dare to approach the nests, so they flied high in the sky. The flower field was dozens of miles long and there were tall trees everywhere. There was a huge hornet nest on almost every tree. No one knew how many black stingers there were in this area. It was scary just to think about it. Soon after, Han Sen saw a giant tree that was more than twice as tall as the others. The hornet nest on this giant tree was the size of a castle, and there were scarlet black stingers the size of a pigeon flying in and out from time to time. Lu Weinan looked at the nest eagerly and said, are those scarlet hornets all mutant creatures? How many of them must there be? Han Sen was also a bit dumbfounded. The poster said he had seen one. Although Han Sen had guessed there should be more than one, he didn't predict that there would be a whole nest of them. There must be a beast soul among so many mutant black stingers. Han Sen was excited, realizing it was difficult to handle so many mutant black stingers at the same time. The needle of the mutant black stinger was blood red and at least 2 inches long. It looked very sharp as well. No one could resist the poison on it if stinged. After all, they were mutant creatures. Han Sen didn't want to depend on his sacred blood armor completely. Once the armor was pierced, he would be risking his life. The only fortunate fact was that the closest primitive hornet nest was a mile away, so the primitive black stingers didn't dare to get too close to this area. Comrade Lu, it's time to test your loyalty. Han Sen patted Lu Weinan on the shoulder. Lu Weinan suddenly changed his expression. Big brother, you do not want me to lure the mutant black stingers away, right? I will die. Do not be so pessimistic. Well, you do not really need to go there yourself. Just use your iron-feathered bird to attract their attention and I'll use that opportunity to ruin their nest. When the mutant hornets run wild and scatter around, we could just kill some of the single ones. Han Sen said with a smile. Han Sen said before Lu Weinan could say anything, do a good job, and I will give you 2 mutant hornets when the plan goes through. Think about it, boy. In order to keep Lu Weinan in line, Han Sen promised him the reward first. Lu Weinan suddenly swallowed the reply he had, patted his chest and said, it's my honor to risk everything for you. Tell me what to do, big brother. 2 mutant hornets could gain him quite a few mutant geno points. Very good, I am seeing great things in you. You are responsible for directing your iron-feathered bird to poke at the nest and attract most hornets away. But don't let the bird fly too high. If the hornets couldn't follow, they would return to the nest. Try to keep them away as long as possible, and I'll take care of the rest, Han Sen said. Lu Weinan looked surprisedly at Han Sen. Even if I can get most of the hornets away from the nest, there are certainly some remaining inside. Are you gonna be fine walking over like this? Lu Weinan did not expect that Han Sen would risk approaching the nest himself, which was far more dangerous than his part. He wasn't in direct danger by using the iron-feathered bird to lure hornets away. If things got bad, he could also take the beast soul bird back. The fortress-like hornet nest was connected to the tree trunk, and it wouldn't be easy to take down. I have a plan. Just buy me some time and do not let those hornets come back too fast, Han Sen said calmly. As long as the majority of mutant black stingers were lured away, he wasn't afraid of a dozen that might still be in the nest. Will do. Lu Weinan hid behind a boulder with Han Sen and commanded his iron-feathered bird to seize a large stone with its claws and flew above the nest. Bang! The iron-feathered bird dropped the stone at the nest and the 3-foot-long stone made a big hole in the nest. With a buzzing sound, mutant black stingers rushed out from the nest madly toward the iron-feathered bird like a scarlet cloud. Lu Weinan quickly commanded the iron-feathered bird to lead the mutant black stingers away. Han Sen was watching the nest closely all the time and saw almost no mutant black stingers around the nest. When the mutant black stingers were led dozens of yards away, Han Sen suddenly summoned the beast souls of the purple-winged dragon and bloody slayer. With the mutant sawfish spear in hand, he flew toward the nest, looking like a winged centaur warrior from the myth. Almost just in the blink of an eye, Han Sen threw himself at the nest, breaking the nest badly. Swinging the spear into a storm, he tore the nest apart as if it were made of paper. Some mutant black stingers were trying to attack him, but were all killed with the spear in a short while. None could stop him. There was a mutant black stinger that approached him, and its sting didn't even pierce his armor, leaving only a small white mark on it. Lu Weinan was shocked. He knew Han Sen was strong but didn't realize Han Sen had such great shapeshifting beast soul. When the better half of the huge hornet nest had been destroyed by Han Sen, a hornet twice the size of a mutant one flew out, its whole body transparent as red crystal. The moment this biggest hornet flew out, all the mutant hornets that were lured away by the bird all flew back to the nest, as if they could feel something. Be careful, the hornets are all back. That may be their queen. Lu Weinan roared. His heart was trembling. The swarm was only about 600 feet from Han Sen. With the speed of the hornets, they could make it back in seconds. In addition, the queen hornet, which could be sacred blood, was eyeing Han Sen. His situation was critical. Looking at the queen hornet flying over, Han Sen narrowed his eyes, stepped back and threw the mutant sawfish spear at it. The queen was too fast and dodged the spear at a short distance. When Lu Weinan was lamenting the loss, Han Sen's majestic golden figure had rushed to face the queen, hacking a gleaming katana at the queen hornet. That katana was so swift that even the sacred blood queen hornet couldn't dodge it and was cut into halves by Han Sen. Sacred blood black stinger killed. No beast soul gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 sacred geno points randomly. With that wonderful voice, Han Sen rocketed into the sky without any pause. The swarm chased Han Sen into the sky, but could not to catch up with him or fly any higher than half a mile above the ground. Han Sen turned beautifully and made a big circle before he returned to the side of Lu Weinan. Lu Weinan was very impressed. From destroying the hornet nest to killing the queen to getting rid of the swarm, Han Sen's movements were so smooth and clean that he felt like he was watching an action movie. Awesome, really awesome. Lu Weinan gave Han Sen a thumbs up. He was sincere. Just my routine. Han Sen laughed but kept his eyes on the swarm. He didn't have the time to get the body of the queen hornet out, but it was fine. The nest was destroyed and the queen was killed. These hornets would go through a chaotic phase, which would be Han Sen's best opportunity. Sure enough, after suffering major blows, the swarm was a mess. Many mutant black stingers had left the swarm. You continue to harass the swarm with your iron-feathered bird, and I will go hunt the single black stingers. Han Sen flapped his wings and approached a mutant black stinger flying away from the swarm. Although his shapeshifting time was up, Han Sen was still able to use Bladestorm with the Shira katana to kill the mutant black stinger. Just now he was only able to kill the sacred blood black stinger with one blow because he used the strength of Bladestorm to cut on its fragile waist. Mutant black stinger killed. No beast soul gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 mutant geno points randomly. Although he hadn't gained a beast soul yet, Han Sen was not worried at all as there were at least thousands of mutant black stingers here and he would surely get a beast soul sooner or later. Taking the dead black stingers back, Han Sen directly gave them to Lu Weinan. He didn't want to bother preparing the body. As the black stingers were poisonous, only parts of the body were edible and the rest had to be removed. Although it was nothing difficult, it was quite troublesome. Han Sen continued to fly out to kill more single black stingers. With the collaboration with Lu, Han Sen hunted more than 20 black stingers in a day. The only pity was that Han Sen still did not get a beast soul. Han Sen was not in a hurry. The iron-feathered bird was constantly harassing the hornets, which made it difficult for them to rebuild their nest. The two men had enough time to hunt. For several days, Han Sen had been hunting mutant black stingers. On the fourth day, he finally heard the voice saying, "Mutant black stinger killed. Beast soul of mutant black stinger gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 mutant geno points randomly." Finally, Han Sen thought in ecstasy, though not showing it on his face or summoning the black stinger beast soul. He did not want others to see Dollar shooting arrows and thus connect Han Sen with Dollar. These mutant black stingers are quite enough. We could not carry more anyway. On the fifth day, Han Sen had hunted nearly 80 mutant black stingers. Han Sen gave Lu Weinan the 2 mutant black stingers he had promised. Lu used the bird to lure the swarm away several times and had done a good job. Han Sen was quite satisfied. Great, Lu Weinan nodded, regretting not having asked for more mutant black stingers. Han Sen had dozens of them and all he got was 2. But even so, it had been a great trip, much better than his own gain in Dark Swamp. Use the iron-feathered bird to drive the hornets away one more time and I will go get the body of the queen, said Han Sen. Lu Weinan quickly nodded, and Han Sen retrieved the 2 parts of the queen hornet. Lu enviously watched Han Sen putting the body away. Not knowing if the queen hornet was sacred blood, he was still coveting it. Han Sen quickly prepared the queen hornet's meat, took out the poisonous and inedible parts and made a pot of broth. Eating it up, Han Sen heard the voice 4 times. Sacred blood black stinger meat eaten. 1 sacred geno point gained. Sacred blood black stinger meat eaten. 1 sacred geno point gained. The queen black stinger had contributed 4 more sacred geno points. This is the end of our collaboration. You take care. Han Sen took his own mutant black stingers and got up to leave. These days he ate a lot of mutant black stingers and now had 47 mutant geno points. With 4 more sacred geno points from the queen, his sacred geno points were now 29. It had been a fruitful trip and now he needed to prepare the dead mutant black stingers he had and trade them for cash. Brother, can we continue to collaborate? I'll follow your lead. No question asked. Lu Weinan quickly got up and said. He had tasted sweetness from this collaboration and trusted Han Sen as well. He would never suffer losses from working with such a person. Looking at Lu Weinan, Han Sen pondered and said, I do not have much time to hunt together. If I'm recruiting people to join me, I will tie a piece of cloth with my name on it to the crooked tree on the west side of Steel Armor Shelter. If you are interested in participating, just go to Zephyr Valley and wait for me. Brother, you have not told me what your name is. Lu Weinan quickly asked. Go back and go on the Skynet. You will find out. Han Sen smiled, took his own package and flew away. Super God Gene, Chapter 73. Han Sen returned to Steel Armor Shelter, expecting trouble from Qin as he had disappeared for so many days. However, he did not see Qin at all. Not just Qin, there was almost no one on the streets. The entire Steel Armor Shelter seemed empty. Finally seeing a man hurrying through the street, Han Sen quickly stepped forward and asked, Friend, what's happening? Where is everyone? It's you, ass freak. The man recognized Han Sen at first glance. Han Sen rubbed his own nose. Friend, can you tell me where everyone went? The man was very easygoing. He smiled and said to Han Sen, where can they go? To the martial ring, of course. This year's martial arts contest has already begun. People are talking about it in God's sanctuary and on all the planets in the Alliance. You don't know about it? Ahem, I have been sick recently and almost missed such a great event. Can I still register now? Han Sen asked. Haha, you must be hiding from Son of Heaven, the man smiled. Hurry, you can still make it. Thanks so much for the information. Han Sen thanked the man and trotted back to his own room. Putting away the package full of mutant black stingers, he hurried to the martial ring in the shelter. There was no doubt that the martial ring was the most magnificent building in the shelter. It looked like the Colosseum in Rome and could accommodate at least 100,000 audience. What was different from the Colosseum was that it was built with metal, which made it look like a steel monster. Han Sen ran to a gate of the martial ring. There was a gate every 60 feet around the round martial ring and each one of them could be used to access the ring. Now, almost everyone in Steel Armor Shelter was already in the martial ring. Han Sen picked a gate at random and placed his palm on the metal gate, where a string of numbers suddenly appeared. 88,888. Han Sen was surprised and then realized this must be his code as he should be the 88,888th person to enter the martial ring. The martial arts contest was also arranged according to these codes. Only those entering the martial ring for the first time would be assigned this number. So the next time he came in, there wouldn't be a second number. As the metal gate opened, Han Sen went through a path that felt like a tunnel. When he came out, he was in a venue larger than where the Olympics were hosted. The stands were full of people. Above the ring floated a huge crystal stele full of groups of codes. There were 100 codes in each group, which meant these 100 people were arranged in the same match. Han Sen had learned at school that the martial arts contest in each shelter operated automatically and humans couldn't interfere in it. The preliminary round was conducted in groups of 100 people, and only the last one who stayed on stage was qualified to go to the next round. This was indeed a strict selection. Since so many people had registered, the match had only come to group 50-something on the third day of the preliminary round, so Han Sen probably wouldn't have to do anything until tomorrow. Han Sen looked around, searching for Qin and others. Before he could find Qin, he ran into Son of Heaven's gang. Don't let me see you in my group, or you will be dead. Luo Tianyang stared at Han Sen coldly. The last time they met, he was frightened by Han Sen, which was a disgrace to him. Son of Heaven also looked at Han Sen gloomily. Although he did not say it, Han Sen knew from his look that he would try to kill Han Sen at all costs if they were in the same match. I'm afraid I have to let you down. I do not intend to participate in the martial arts contest, Han Sen shrugged and said. Han Sen will certainly participate, but in Dollar's name, so that he could show his real strength. You are unworthy to be called a man. Shame on you, Luo Tianyang said contemptuously, setting the whole gang in an uproar. Son of Heaven ignored Han Sen and walked past him. While he was walking, he smiled and said, Qin Zan, you have improved again. It seems that this year you will still be the champion. You are flattering me. Don't forget that Dollar is also in steel armor shelter, Qin Zan said casually. Han Sen turned and saw Qin Zan, Yang Manli and other major members of the steel armor gang. Yang Manli was frowning at him. After talking to Qin Zan, Son of Heaven led his gang away. Qin Zan gave Han Sen a look, while Yang Manli said coldly, originally I thought you were just timid, but I did not expect you to be such a coward. You don't have a man's dignity and backbone. After she finished, Yang Manli went away with Qin Zan without looking back. When Lu Hongtao passed by Han Sen, he patted Han Sen on the shoulder and smiled, Han Sen, you did the right thing. A man can take temporary setbacks. Step back to enjoy a better view, right? There is no need risking your life. But anyone could see Lu Hongtao's disdain and contempt. It was all written in his face. Other members of Steel Armor Gang were also somewhat disgusted by Han Sen. Those who were able to enter the core of Steel Armor Gang were either military school students or recently enlisted soldiers. They certainly despised such cowardice. Han Sen did not explain anything. Everyone thought he didn't want to participate because he was afraid of Luo Tianyang, which worked in his favor. No one would then question why he did not participate or why he wasn't there when Dollar appeared. I do not care how others see me. The most important thing is that my family and I can have a stable life, Han Sen thought to himself. Starry Group was so powerful that he didn't have the resources to counter them at the moment. If Son of Heaven knew he was Dollar now and tried to harm him in the alliance, even he wasn't afraid, what would happen to his mother and sister? I need to be more powerful. Han Sen came out of the martial ring, looking down. There was no point of staying as it wouldn't be his turn today anyway. After he teleported to the teleport station on planet Roka, Qin Zan stopped him there and called him to her office. You are afraid of Son of Heaven? Qin Zan stared at him, her eyes were like daggers that could pierce his thoughts. Yes, Han Sen nodded, he had to be afraid. Hearing Han Sen's answer, Qin Zan didn't show disappointment but continued to ask, because of your family. Super God Jean, Chapter 74. Surprised, Han Sen looked to Qin Zan. She smiled and said, listen to me, go apply to Blackhawk. If you could be admitted, I guarantee that Son of Heaven would not dare to touch your family. How can you guarantee that? Han Sen stared at her. Every time we fought, I recorded and observed your combat data. I could tell you for sure that you have the talent to be a great sniper or archer. Your timing and prediction of your opponent are outstanding, Qin Zan said. Han Sen did not speak. These words of praise were not what he wanted to hear. In the army, in addition to being the station master, I am also responsible for organizing a special squad. I think you are someone I need. As long as you join the squad, your family can get protection from the military. I can tell you for certain that if you become a member of the squad, Son of Heaven cannot use any unlawful means to hurt your family, said Qin Zan. However, the prerequisite is that you have to be admitted to Blackhawk. Only then would I be able to nominate you to join the squad. Han Sen did not answer Qin Zan immediately, but pondered for a moment. He looked at her and asked, is it possible for you to tell me the nature of this squad? No, Qin Zan answered without the slightest hesitation. Give me a little time. I need to think about it, Han Sen said. Sure, I still have time. Think about it. Qin Zan smiled and seemed very confident. Han Sen left the teleport station, returned home and rested for a day. He went back to God's sanctuary the next afternoon. Han Sen deliberately circled around Steel Armor shelter before he put on his sacred blood armor and went in the shelter, attracting a lot of people's attention. Wow, that's Dollar himself. Haha, Dollar made his appearance. Dollar my angel is here. Among all the people in First God's sanctuary, only Dollar is my idol. The whole Steel Armor shelter became a hit. Although everyone knew Dollar was there, they were still pleasantly surprised to see Dollar making his appearance. Han Sen did not speak, but walked toward the martial hall. Soon, behind him gathered a lot of people. Some that had already participated in the contest returned to the martial hall following Han Sen. They all wanted to see Dollar fighting in person. The preliminary round was almost finished and there were just a few people on the stands. However, the martial hall became full again soon after Han Sen had arrived. Han Sen checked the martial steel and there were 2 more groups before him. He then found a front seat to sit down. It didn't take long for Son of Heaven, Fist Guy and Chinzon to arrive. Watching Han Sen closely, Son of Heaven would have killed him if they were alone. "Dollar, can we talk?" Chinzon approached Han Sen and asked. "What is it?" Han Sen replied in a hoarse voice. "I want to invite you to join Steel Armor Gang and you can put forward any condition." Chinzon said. Young Manly said on the side, "If you are willing to join Bullseye, I'll concede the position of team leader to you. You would make such a perfect archer." "Sorry, I am not interested in joining Steel Armor Gang or being an archer," replied Han Sen. "Dollar, I think we should be talking about nothing but business. If you had beast souls or meat of mutant or sacred blood creatures, I would gladly pay for them. For example, the beast soul of the Bloody Slayer." Fist Guy also approached Han Sen. "I do have some mutant creature meat to sell," Han Sen said to Fist Guy. Fist Guy's eyes lit up. "What creatures? How much?" "Some mutant hornet." The meat was all cleaned up. "There are 20 to 30 hornets," Han Sen said casually, but people surrounding him were shocked. 20 to 30? You did not destroy an entire mutant hornet nest, did you? Where did you find them?" Fist Guy asked hurriedly. "Don't you mind where I got them? Just tell me if you are interested," said Han Sen. "Yes, of course I'm interested. If you really have them, give me a quote and I'll take them all," Fist Guy quickly said. "Fist Guy, what do you mean by taking them all? You think Chinzon and I are dead?" Son of Heaven scowled and said to Han Sen, "1 million each. I'll buy however many you have." 1 million, Son of Heaven, don't look down on others. "I'll bid 1.2 million each," cried Fist Guy. Son of Heaven gave Fist Guy a stare. 1.5 million. "Do you think you could keep up with me? Being rich does not mean you'd be willing to bid minus 1.6 million, replied Fist Guy, not to be outdone. "Don't bid yet. I don't intend to sell these separately, nor will I trade them for money," Han Sen said. "Name your price." Although Son of Heaven wanted to kill Han Sen right now, seeing a large amount of mutant creature meat of rare hornets, he would not let others beat him to it. "I want to exchange these mutant creatures for an S-class license for St. Hall," Han Sen said quietly. Hearing Han Sen's words, both Son of Heaven and Fist Guy looked reluctant. St. Hall was a research institution of martial arts. Most of the popular hyper-geno arts were developed by St. Hall. St. Hall also sold some advanced hyper-geno arts, but there were restrictions on the purchase, especially for the most advanced S-class hyper-geno arts. Ordinary people were not eligible to purchase even if they had money. Han Sen wanted to buy an advanced hyper-geno art for his mother and sister to practice, as he didn't dare to show Jadeskin to anyone before he knew where this hyper-geno art came from. "Your price is too high. I'll buy all your mutant creatures at 2 million each. Plus I will let go of our previous grievances," said Son of Heaven, staring at Han Sen. "Sorry, I want nothing but the S-class license for St. Hall. You can think about it." Han Sen rose and walked onto the stage. It was his group's turn. Watching Han Sen coming, others in the group felt bitter, as they knew it was impossible for them to pass the preliminary round now that Dollar was here. Super God Gene, Chapter 75, Do Not Be Afraid. Dollar is on his own and we can join forces to get rid of him first, a young man geared up and said. "Exactly, let's get rid of the little angel first." Someone looked at Han Sen greedily, as if he were looking at a naked woman. "Ha ha, Dollar, I am a big fan, so I'll try to be gentle with you." "Dollar, do not run, take my punch." Suddenly nearly 100 people on the stage all threw themselves at Han Sen while yelling frantically. ***T. What the heck? Shouldn't my fans be protecting me rather than beating me up?" thought Han Sen bitterly. Although these people looked menacing, they weren't using any weapon. No one was trying to get involved in a desperate fight with Han Sen. Basically, the stronger persons had all registered relatively early. Those who had waited until this time to register were most likely relatively weak or new to God's sanctuary. Han Sen did not use any weapon either. Seeing the first person's fist almost in his face, Han Sen moved slightly and dodged the blow. Using his hand as a knife, Han Sen attacked back with Bladestorm. The man did not have time to react before he was cut on the back of his neck and fell directly to the ground. Han Sen moved like the wind, flashing his hand knife. He could almost always get rid of an opponent with just one blow. Wherever he went people were thrown off their feet and it was like the scene after a tornado. The best thing about learning Ghost Hound was that Han Sen now knew the various aspects of the human body very well. Although he didn't use Ghost Hound, he was still able to use Bladestorm appropriately so that no one got seriously hurt when they were defeated. Watching nearly 100 opponents knocked out by Han Sen, many smiled and chose to quit after they got back on their feet. Dollar is out of this world. Dollar, my angel, you are so handsome. I want to bear your children, Dollar. On the stands, the audience was roaring in excitement. When the last opponent got off the stage, Han Sen was pleased with himself while waving at the audience. He thought, it seems I also have the potential of being a star. Should I say, give me 10 more, now? Never mind, what's 10 to me? I've already defeated 100. Han Sen automatically got into the next round. Just when he walked out of the martial hall, he saw a few young girls running to him, offering him a pen. They asked in slightly trembling voices, Dollar, can we have your signature? Han Sen paused as he didn't expect this. Fortunately, it took him only a second before he took the pen and said yes. But the next second, Han Sen was embarrassed. These little girls only gave him a pen, but did not give him any kind of paper. Where should he sign? Where do I sign? Hansen asked in a hoarse voice. Dollar, can you please sign here? A plump girl stuck out her breasts, stretching out her blouse. Han Sen was just a young man, and his nose almost bled from the view. Practicing Jadeskin secretly, he calmed himself down and signed, Dollar, on the girl's tight outfit. Dollar, Dollar, sign here. More and more girls squeezed over, scrambling. Some even stuck out their butts for him to sign. After signing for a few, Han Sen turned around and saw himself surrounded by a crowd. A man nearly 6 feet tall raised an arm and flexed his muscles at Han Sen, crying in a muffled voice, Dollar, sign here please. Han Sen finally got out of the martial hall, and was surprised to see Son of Heaven, Fist Guy and Chin Zon waiting for him there. Dollar, other than the license to purchase at S-Class section, would you consider other options? I can trade mutant beast souls and some money with you, Fist Guy said. Sorry, I won't consider anything else. Han Sen said. Son of Heaven stood aside and did not speak. Although he had what Han Sen wanted, he was not willing to trade it for mutant creature meat. If it was sacred blood creature, it might be different. Dollar, if you have 30 mutant creatures, I will make the deal with you. How do you like to proceed? Asked Chin Zon. If you trust me, you can first transfer to me the license and I will send the goods to you later. If not, we could schedule a time privately to trade in person, replied Han Sen. Okay, let's schedule a time then. I need some time to get you the S-Class purchase license, Chin Zon said. Great, Han Sen nodded. Then let's talk about it on our way back. Chin Zon was thoughtful to ask her gang clear the path for Han Sen. After making the appointment with Chin Zon, Han Sen was already outside Steel Armor Shelter. He thanked Chin Zon, summoned the wings to fly into the mountains and soon disappeared. Han Sen did not doubt Chin Zon's ability to come up with an S-Class license. After all, Saint Hall was semi-military. With her profound military background, it should be easy for her to get a license. After walking around in the mountains for a while, Han Sen used his own identity to go back in the shelter. He went back to his room and repackaged the meat of 30 mutant black stingers in a bag, ready to trade with Chin Zon tomorrow. The rest of the black stinger meat was dried by Han Sen. He did not plan to sell it as he will keep it for Meowth. The transaction was very smooth. Han Sen got the S-Class license and teleported out of God's sanctuary. He wanted to buy an advanced hyper-geno art for his mother and sister to practice. Back home, Han Sen logged in on the Skynet and entered the site of Saint Hall. Using the S-Class license, Han Sen entered the official online community of Saint Hall, which was inaccessible to most. He then entered the most advanced section, S-Class section. There were many hyper-geno arts in the S-Class section. Although their content couldn't be browsed, there was a detailed description of each. Han Sen carefully read the descriptions. Each license could only be used to purchase one hyper-geno art, so he had to think carefully. Mutant black stingers could only be sold this once, as the value would decrease if there were too many on the market. Even if Han Sen hunted more mutant black stingers, no one would be willing to use an S-Class license to trade for them again.